when I looked at a calendar the other day and saw that we have 6 weeks until December 1st, I thought, oh no. Hey everyone, it's Natalie, also known as Nitty Natty. We're gonna do some project planning today. I'm calling this my fall project planning, but it's a little bit of fall, a little bit of winter. In my mind already, I am planning through the end of the year because that's where we're at right now. If you've been following me for a little bit, you'll know that we have spent the last 2 years on the road or on and off the road. And my project planning has been pretty dismal. But before that, I was very disciplined with project planning. I had really clear goals in mind. So in 2021, I was trying to get rid of all of my stash. No, wait, that was 2022. And then in 2023, I was trying to work through all of the mini skeins that I had collected. And so I was working every month. I would get out my notebook and I would write down the projects that I had in mind to reach those goals of working through my stash. And now that we are going to be stationary again, I'm really excited to get back into that. I think it's going to be more of a 2026 thing, but I still want to end out the year strong. I'm feeling motivated. I'm feeling excited to plan my projects. And so I sat down yesterday with my notebook. It took me about maybe half of an hour, and I made some goals for the end of the year. So I'm going to share with you kind of my strategy and how I approach this. Hopefully it will be helpful to just see one way that you can do things. All right, so this is what my project planning looks like. It's relatively tidy, actually. I have done a lot of these, but I think what I always like to start with is sort of a brainstorm. So I'm just dumping everything out onto the page with no judgment or decision making, just getting everything out there. Like if the world was perfect and I had endless time and resources, what do I want to make next? Now, for me this time, this actually started with writing down my current projects and like what I want to wrap up. So I'm kind of giving myself a week to wrap up any projects that have already been started. I am really close to finishing quite a few projects right now. And then starting next week, I'm going to start casting on new things. I have some plans for things I want to accomplish before December 1st. Actually, speaking of, that December 1st deadline is an internal one because I want to leave December totally free to work on my Advent project. I'll be getting to that as well. And I just love December to be more of a relaxed time. I don't know, as you're gonna see as we go through my projects here, there's probably always a goal that I have that I'm working towards, and I'm trying to get a project done in a certain amount of time. That's just how my brain operates at this current moment, and it's fun for me, so it's okay. But I realize that this may not be everyone's cup of tea. So let me start with kind of my project dump of like current WIPs. And I have things to show you. I'm gonna set that right there. So number one, I want to finish my Canada blanket. So hopefully, maybe this thing is done. It's almost there. It just needs a border, but I have some decision making to do about that. I will leave that for the podcast. It's going to come out later this week. I also have in a very beat up Ziploc bag all of the leftovers from that blanket. I've been making a blanket for Toaster, so I want to finish his blanket as well. I am very close on that. It pretty much just needs a border too. I have a couple of projects that the knitting is finished, but they just need to be finished, like ends and blocking and all of that. So these are just projects that I finished honestly in the last month of our travels, and I didn't have the time or the space or the water to block these out. So I've just been saving them. So one thing is this really cute vest. It's called the butterfly vest. I've got a bunch of ends to weave in. I need to wash it and block it. It has these really curly Q looking ties on it that I'm going to try to straighten out. So that's one. So there's a lot of projects on this finish this week list, but they're not like anything major. I have recently finished this cardigan. It's called the Leith cardigan by Rebecca Clow. It just needs buttons, which I've already purchased. I just need to take the hour to sew them on. And then I have some ends to weave in where the buttonholes are. So that one hopefully will get finished up. And then one more project that I finished while on the road. This is the Seaside shirt. I believe that's what it's called, by Brianna Lapino, the Little Wolf Knits. It also has just a couple of ends and it needs to be blocked. So I feel like before I could get started looking at future projects, I need to really look at what was currently going on, because I don't like to leave anything lingering for too long. So it works better for me to wrap stuff up first before venturing out into new projects. So with all of those things on my list, my brain feels now very clear and I can start thinking about what I want to cast on next. So I made for myself sort of a time block. So the week that this video is coming out is my new time block. So I have about 6 weeks from October 12th to November 30th to work on the things I want to work on before Advent season begins. And I have other projects set aside for that. So 6 weeks is not a long time. But again, I just let myself list out all the projects that I thought about I wanted to work on. And then I go back later and I figure out what's going to be a priority and how realistic that's going to be. So things on my list. Number 1 is called Tier Buddies. We're going to come back to these. We can put a little picture in right here. This is a charity project that I want to work on in November. Number 2, Kent's Beetlejuice blanket. I am opening up an October countdown right now that I am going to turn into a blanket for Kent. So I'm really excited to work on that. I want that to be on my list. Number 3, I want to make some things for my sister-in-law who's expecting her first child. So I have 2 things on my list for that. I want to make socks, matching socks, baby and mommy socks, and I want to make them by the shower that is in early November. So I have a deadline on that. And then I also want to make her a baby blanket, but I'm not going to make it for the shower. I'm going to make it for Christmas-ish, before the baby's born. So I just want to finish this by November 30th, before Advent season. So those are 4 projects that just immediately popped into my mind. The other thing that I really want to do is a sweater I've been hoping to do all this year, and it is my handspun Traveler sweater. So the Traveler, hold on, I have so many things that this has gotten out of reach. The Traveler is a sweater I've made before. I made it the hoodie version and I wear it all the time. There's also a version without a hood that's a crew neck, and I think it's going to be perfect for my first handspun sweater quantity. So I've got 4 enormous skeins. This is the equivalent of 7 skeins, 100-gram skeins. And I don't exactly know what weight this is quite yet. I'm hoping that it works for the sport weight gauge of the Traveler, but I really want to make this project. This, if I didn't have things I'm making for other people, which actually, surprisingly, all of those things that I just listed would not be for me. That is maybe a first. Don't want to get too what's the right word? I make things for myself all the time is what I'm trying to say. But that's actually pretty amazing. That's a lot of things on my list that are for other people, which I do enjoy doing, but that's just not really typical. So if I didn't have things that I wanted to make for other people on my list, this would be the first thing I want to cast on, is my Traveler hoodie. Now, I have a whole bunch of yarn in stash that I have plans for, that I have sweaters planned for, but right now that's honestly not even on my mind. I'm really thinking about all the rest of my stash as a next year goal. So these are the 5 projects that I have: the Tier Buddies, the blanket for Kent, the socks and blanket for my sister-in-law, and the Traveler for myself. So I just let myself write all of those things down, and then we'll come back to those in just a minute. That was my brainstorm to get things started. Now, I did, since I'm already thinking about December, want to write in what my plans are for December. That way I know if I have a reason to really push to get these other projects done by December 1st. What's my motivation? It's that I want to have a cozy and relaxing December. Would it be the end of the world if I'm still working on Kent's blanket in December? There's a very good chance that I will be. You'll see when I get to it. It is going to take me a long time. It would not be the end of the world, but I want to focus primarily on my December advent. So I am getting two things this December. I am getting the Anne of Green Gables advent from the Stitch, I think it's the Stitch and the Skein, and I apologize. I'll make sure to put the right thing on the screen. I always mix around the words. Maybe it's the Skein and the Stitch. That actually sounds more correct. But I am getting that advent and a pattern to go along with it. The Yorkshire blanket pattern here behind me, the designer is Mima Makes, and she's doing the Anne of Green Gables pattern. So I am really excited for that one. I want to leave the maximum amount of time to work on that project and enjoy it. It's a crochet blanket. It's going to look, it's made up of lots of tiny squares. It will look very quilt-like, but it's different squares. So I'm really excited for that one. And then the other thing that I purchased this year is the Woolens and Nosh self-striping skein. And the theme is really cool this year. It's a Pacific Northwest sort of outdoorsy theme. And I looked at the art and it is just so cute. So I cannot wait for these. So I am feeling pretty great about my December projects. These seem really reasonable, something I can work on every single day. So that feels like a good goal for me to then go back and look at the current upcoming, half of October and then full month of November that I have left until then, and really dive into these other projects that I want to work on. So I had all that on page 1. And then on page 2, I was like, well, while I'm project planning, why don't I go back and look at my goals that I set at the beginning of 2025, see if there's anything that is important enough that I want to incorporate it into these last, few weeks of the year that I have, and see what I can accomplish. So you're going to laugh at this one. I had 3 goals. For 2025. I honestly had kind of forgotten about them because, again, with travel, everything else kind of moves to the wayside. It kind of has a whole vibe of its own, and I didn't make much progress towards my goals this year, unsurprisingly. So goal number 1 was to use up advents. So how did I do this year on advents? Well, I have one from Ruby and Roses. That one I think is from 2 years ago. I have Suburban Stitcher, also from 2 years ago. I have Polka Dot Creek Elf from last year. And I have Fangirl Fibers Toy Story from 2 years ago, I believe. So that is 4. And I have not used up a single one. I guess that's not entirely true. I actually did start on one of my other lingering advents, and I started the Cozy Comfort Throw. It is a project by a homespun house, and I have been slowly working on it throughout the year. It's like one of those perfect projects to bring to the movies or to work on while you're reading or watching a show at home because it's just garter stitch and it's so easy to do. And I also wound my minis. This yarn is from the Little Wolf Knits, Schitt's Creek, a few years ago. I wound all my minis together into these enormous skeins. So everything could not be easier for this project. I just have been having more fun working on other things. And I find that it's hard for me to work on more than one project in one category at a time. So if I have a blanket going on, it's hard for me to work on another blanket. And for the whole summer, I've had my Canada blanket going on. So this really got pushed to the wayside. I am not prioritizing this yet because I have other blankets that I want to make. Speaking of, so I have these 4 advents that haven't even been started on yet. I have a 5th advent that is in progress. I am not going to be finishing any of those this year. That is just beyond question. So that goal is going to be pushed to 2026. I will be working on that. I have an incoming advent that's a mini skein advent, the Anne of Green Gables one. And I have this one for October, which is also the Little Wolf Knits. It's a Beetlejuice one. So I'm currently opening this one. Actually, it's really for Kent. Kent wanted to get it. He wanted a blanket made, but of course I'm the one doing the making. So that is incoming. And then I'm also, I feel like I'm admitting all of my minor sins. I'm also ordering these monthly Color Club from Ruby and Roses. It's not technically an advent, but it is a set of mini skeins, and I have plans to make a sweet shop blanket with all of these. I have 5 of these so far. So in some ways, I've completely and utterly failed to work on advents this year. But in other ways, I feel like I have staunched the flow at least a little bit. I know it doesn't really sound like it, but I have limited what's coming in December, which makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm at least moving in the right place. And for the current ones coming in, well, at least for the October one, I'm already working on that project. I'll show that in just a little bit. So goal number 1, use up advents. Entirely failed. My goal number 2 for 2025 was to make a gift or donation project monthly. So my hope for this goal was that I could, 1, use up yarn in my stash that maybe wasn't something that I wanted to make for myself, yarn that I love and is beautiful and somebody else is going to love as well, but that I just don't have a need for. I have so many wonderful, amazing knitted and crocheted items. I can only have so many hats, so many socks, so many other things. And I wanted to focus on using stash and also being of a giving mindset. But I did not do that, did I? I don't think I've done that at all. I think I made 1 hat. I should have brought it down. I made 1 Musselburgh hat out of a yarn that is beautiful, that I love, but that I made with the intention of giving away. And so I will have that to do some donating with this year. I'm going to be making a tier buddy. I'll talk more about that in a second. But yeah, all in all, that failed. With 2026, definitely going to be a stashing down again focus. I might revisit this goal, but maybe make it a little more realistic than monthly, maybe every other month. And then my final goal was to make sweaters. I wanted to make progress on all of the sweaters quantities that I have in my stash. I did not count before coming down here. My stash lives upstairs. I am down in a bedroom right now. But if I had to guess, I have at least 10 sweaters quantities, which is a lot. A lot. And I'm excited about all of them. I want to make all of them, but I don't think I made progress on any of them. But I did make sweaters this year. So this is kind of an interesting conundrum. So I made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sweaters this year, which is definitely more than 1 per quarter, and probably more than I've made in the last several years, like more per year than I've made for the last several years, but none of them were from stash. I ended up making a lot of sweaters. As yarn would come in, I would go ahead and say, okay, I'm gonna make something with this to go ahead and use it up. My whole mindset when we were traveling was to not come home with any just yarn. That totally didn't happen, but to mostly come home with finished items or things that were in progress rather than just more yarn to add to my stash, which is what I did in the States, and it's stressing me out. So surprisingly, I made a ton of sweaters this year. I did bring them over here. So the first one I made is the Nordlig cardigan by Fiber Tales, which I wear all this freaking time. I love it so much. And I'm going to put all these projects down below because I know I'm showing them super, super fast, but we still have planning to talk about. I made the Skyline tee by Tori Yu. I also love this one and wear it a ton. I made the Florence tee, my first crochet project garment in a while, by oh my gosh, Courtney Clark. I love Tinderbox. This one is wonderful. I made the Avenue tee, also by Tori Yu. Love this one, wearing it currently. And then I made the 3 garments that I showed earlier, the Seaside Tank, the Butterfly Vest, and the Leith cardigan, all of these in like the last couple of months. So I didn't make progress towards my original goal of using stash yarn and working on sweaters quantities, but I sure did make some sweaters. Now that all of that was out of my brain and onto paper, I realized that a lot of my 2025 goals were things that I was okay being done with for this year and letting myself start fresh next year and really just focusing on the 5 projects that I have in mind when deciding what I'm going to do these next 6 weeks. So I made a ranking list. And I did this because I really find that I am so much better at focusing on one thing at a time. So rather than take these 5 projects that I want to make over the next 6 weeks and say, okay, I'm going to start them all this week, and then I'm going to do a little bit each day on each one of these. This just does not work for me. This is something I've had to learn the hard way, learn through experience, but I am so much better at taking one thing from start to finish. That's not to say that these projects are going to not overlap. Like, I definitely will overlap them a little bit, but just getting one thing started and really into a routine at a time, and then kind of getting a process for it, and then adding the next thing. So if I don't know if you can hear my stomach, it just growled. This is the ranking list that I decided, the order of importance, if you will, for my projects. So 1, I didn't even rank my handspun traveler. I realized that 5 projects in 6 weeks is absolutely not going to happen. So the handspun traveler just completely went off the list. Will I get to it this year? Maybe. We'll see what happens after I work through these other 4 projects that I'm finding more important right now than the handspun traveler. It can wait. It will still get done. So that one's just immediately like 0. It's off the list. So number 1 priority for me is making the baby and mommy socks for my sister-in-law. The shower is coming up in early November. It is mid-October at this point. I really want to get the pattern picked. I want to get those knit. I want to have them, washed and blocked and ready to gift at the shower. So I went to Ravelry and now I need to grab my other notes because I did some pattern browsing, which is one of my favorite things to do. So I was looking specifically for socks that are plain, simple, but have a little bit of a ruffle on the top. I noticed that this is something that my sister-in-law likes to wear. I think they're pretty trendy right now. I also thought that they would be a really fun translation for adult socks and baby socks. So that's what I had in mind when I started to search on Ravelry. And I found this pattern. It's just called Ruffle Socks by Pearl Soho. They're super cute, super simple. It is a like about $12 pattern. I actually got it on sale, so I didn't see what the full price was. There are 7 different sizes included. It goes from little kid all the way up to an adult large. So I looked through here and I was like, perfect. My sister-in-law is going to love these. I'm going to pick out a neutral color, I think, for her, because again, that's something that I know she's going to wear and will really, really love. And unfortunately, the pattern doesn't have a baby size. It has a little kid size. So I did a little more research. I kind of looked through other baby socks to see what size does a baby wear? Like, how many inches tall? How many inches around is it going to be? And I figured out that if I take the smallest size of the Ruffle Socks pattern by Pearl Soho and just kind of go one size down from there, I should be able to get a baby size. So I'm going to be doing a little playing with things. If I'm able to figure out something good, I'll probably put some notes in my project page. I think the kid size is 5.5 inches. And for a baby, it really needs to be about 5 inches around. So I will just try to modify it. That's my plan. So I'm really happy with these socks. I think they're so cute. So this is priority number 1. It has the soonest deadline and I really need to make it work. I don't have yarn for this quite yet. I need to go shopping for it. I did look through my stash and I didn't see anything that I thought would be suitable. So I'm going to the yarn store this week, so I will be looking for those very soon. Project number 2, or priority number 2, is Kent's Beetlejuice blanket. It doesn't really have to be done for any reason, but I want to make it so badly. And I want to open up the yarn and start the project in October because it's a Beetlejuice advent. And I feel like if I wait until November to start it, I'm going to be like, it's not Halloween season anymore. Like, I don't want to work on this. So I found that it was important for me to get started on this project particularly. So I had several different blanket projects saved. I have created over the years a whole bundle of patterns that are knit and crochet that are great for mini skein sets, specifically advents, so around 24 mini skeins. And I will try to remember to put that down below too, but it is a public resource and it's just all the patterns on Ravelry gathered into one place that I vetted and looked through. So I went through that and I sent Kent several different blanket patterns that I thought I would love to make these. So whatever he chooses, I am cool with. And he ended up picking I Quilt 2, which is a $4 US dollar pattern by the Little Nitty Designs. And this one has actually been on my list for a few years, so I'm really excited to finally make this one. It's a great excuse or reason to actually start on this pattern. Now, this pattern is perfect for a December countdown because it is made for 24 20-gram minis plus a full skein to do the border. So whether your advent comes with a full skein or you add one in from stash, it's very suited to that. It also uses up the entire 20-gram skein, which is really, really nice. Now, my countdown actually has 31 days because it's an October countdown. So I'm probably just going to, at some point I will either make it, I think it's 3 squares across and 4 down, right? Because that would be 12. And each one has 2 colors, which is 24. So I will probably add 4. Do I have 8 more colors? Oh, I don't have 8 more colors. So I will probably add 3 squares up to the top. And then I will have, I think, 2 extra colors. I need to check that math. That may not be right. But at some point, I will make this either taller or wider, and I will have a couple extra colors that we may just decide to use for something else, which is great because it kind of gives me the freedom to mix and match colors as I would like to. So that's going to be really fun. Now, even though this is priority number 2, I actually have already started this project. I started it yesterday. I got to a point in my other projects where I had nowhere else to go and I was feeling motivated and I had the yarn already, so I thought, why not start? As I said, I don't have the yarn yet for the ruffle socks, so I can't start them, but I will soon. So I have started the I Quilt 2, and it is great. I've already got the pattern memorized. This is actually this is my first square, but I've already started the second one. I just need to open up another color so I can finish out this square, but this is going to be such a great portable and easy project. So already really excited, having so much fun with this one. I keep showing Kent, like, look at your blanket. It's almost done. It's going to take forever. It is at least 48 small squares that are then sewn together into 12 larger squares that are then sewn together into the blanket. Hoping somewhere along the way I might figure out how to crochet some things together, but we'll see. Okay, so those are my first 2 priorities. My second 2 projects are a little more free form. Like, I haven't planned them out as much because for me, again, my brain needs to kind of do one thing at a time. So even though I've got this blanket started, once I get the yarn for the socks, that is going to be priority number 1. I'm going to work on that over the blanket at most opportunities until those are finished. So I didn't go too into depth with how I'm going to work on these next ones. So I thought, if I don't get anything else done, the next most important thing for me to do is to make this baby blanket for my sister-in-law because I want to have it finished so that I can gift it at Christmas. So I have a couple of fun options for that one as well. I sat down with her a couple weekends ago and we looked on Ravelry, and she just kind of told me which blankets that she liked. And I gathered from her that her favorite style of blankets, at least the ones that kept coming up, were solid colors with texture on them. So I narrowed it down to these 3 patterns that are, funnily enough, all from the same designer. I didn't realize it until I was putting together my notes here. So all of these blankets are by the yarn Sonata, and they retail for, hold on, let me double check, roughly €550. So the first one that she really liked is called Reversible Blanket Soft Clouds. And it's exactly what it looks like. It's a solid color. You make clouds by reversing stockinette, and it's really, really cute. I like this one a ton. It's very possible I end up making this one. The other one is Reversible Blanket Pinwheels. Very similar kind of thing. It's a reversible blanket. It has sort of a textured pinwheel pattern, really nice, really classic looking. And then the third one is called Blanket from Heart to Heart. This one I love. I love hearts, love and stitches. I'm very very pro heart symbol. I love it so much. She also really liked this one, and it has these small hearts on it, again in texture, that are connected by these lines of like pearls, I think. So it's really, really cute. So I haven't decided 100% yet because this is priority number 3 down on the list, and I'm gonna leave myself some room for decisions later. But I do want to get this yarn in the next like couple of weeks so that I can start thinking about it. This is probably going to be a November cast on for me, and I wouldn't start this one until after I finish the socks because those are priority number 1. I'm leaning towards the hearts or clouds, but I haven't quite decided just yet. So that leaves me with one other project, which is the Tier Buddies. Now, just because this project is number 4 on the list, it doesn't mean that it's not going to get done. I have absolute plans to make at least one of these, hopefully a couple of them, in November. So in the Love and Stitches membership, our November make-along is going to be Charity Makes, and we are going to get to talk to the designer of Tier Buddies. Her name is Deborah. She also goes by Winterberry Studio. She's a lovely person. I've gotten to meet her in person several times. So I'm excited to make these, but I want to read to you from her what the story behind Tier Buddies are, and this comes from the Ravelry project page for these. And also this is what they look like before we even start. They're these really cute cotton little like stuffy blanket things, and you'll understand what they're for here in just a second. So this is from Deborah. My Tier Buddy journey began in February 2014. I had recently been diagnosed with eye cancer. While sitting in the waiting room, I heard the cries of a small child receiving dilation drops. I thought about what it would be like as a child experiencing all of the tests. It would be terrifying. Suddenly, I imagined the washcloth I was knitting turning into a bunny. Thus, the Tier Buddies were born. The Tier Buddies can comfort a child, wipe tears, and are easy to clean. At this time, over 200 Tier Buddies have been created and given to the children visiting the Ocular Oncology Group at Wills Eye Center in Philadelphia. A portion of the proceeds from each pattern is donated to the Eye Cancer Research Foundation. If you would like to donate to Tier Buddies, see the information at the end of the pattern. So I am going to leave a link to all of Deborah's patterns below, but there are so many Tier Buddies to choose from, all different animals. I think, I don't want to be incorrect on this, but it kind of looks like the first one was maybe like a teddy bear. I know she said in here she imagined it turning into a bunny. There's a bunny. And so I started thinking through the yarn, the cotton yarn that I have in stash. I have some left over from making my float totes. And I think right now I have cream, brown, and purple. So looking through the different ones, I thought I might want to make the lamb, because I can do brown and cream for the lamb. I think that'll be really cute. And then maybe Ellie the elephant in purple, I think would be adorable. So I am looking forward to making these. That's gonna be a November thing. So not worried about if I'm gonna get them done. I'm gonna get them done, but just kind of setting aside some time for that. Okay, that's my planning. That's how I plan this time. It's not always the same. It looks very different depending on the season, depending on what I'm planning for. I am into my blanket right now. So that's kind of like off my list, honestly. Like it has no deadline. It is just going to get worked as it gets worked. So my next priority is getting that yarn to make those baby and mommy socks, which I'm so excited to make them. So hopefully by the time you get to the podcast this week, you'll get to see some progress on those because I'm hoping to have had time to get that yarn over the weekend here. Well, that's everything for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!